Hi everyone, this is Killshot from 99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9, the ending. As promised last night, we are going to talk about our analysis of the last couple days, how we think the show is going to play out. I know we're really funneling this thing down. There is a brand new trailers out there today. It is going to be an emotional discussion because we're going to weed some more things out, and there are some more clues, some more hints, and some of it is the words of Angela Kang. Some of it is just a little bit more that we've been able to see. This screenshot is going to be discussed, and I think we're starting to really turn the corner on the impact and the impact it's going to have not only on the viewers, but one of the things that we have not discussed is the impact this is going to have on other characters and how this is going to play out over a 5-episode time frame. And also, we're going to break down a little bit of the words from Negan, a couple other things that's in the promo. I know it was short. I know it was only a 30-second clip, but a lot of data, a lot of information in that. I do want to give a couple super chat shout outs already. We got Valar in the house. Hello, 99 Army, Kill Steph, Emmy, Kel, Sweet, Tommy, sponsors, patrons, and super chatters. Thank you so much for Valar. Appreciate that introduction and appreciate you being here. Also, we got, I saw Chip Smith. What's up, Chip? Shout out to 99 Army. Thank you so much for that. And I do also want to say, if you are on the East Coast of North Carolina or South Carolina, you should not be listening to the stream unless you're driving inland, and you can listen to me over your phone or over your device, your radio, whatever that you can kind of chime into. But just make sure you're doing it while you're driving toward Tennessee or toward West Virginia or toward Alabama or wherever. Just drive inland. Just get away from the coast, okay? We need you guys to be smart. All right, we're going to move on to tonight's topic, and the first thing that really that hit me, and I don't know how you guys felt about this when you're watching the promo, or even if you kind of picked up on this when it first happened, that's why I want to put it up there, is that Rick has made the porch a monument. He's made it just that reminder of Judith and Carl, and it definitely starts to lean us in a certain direction. I do have to say, when I saw this, these things that kind of surface a little bit later are more impactful to me than Carl's last words and the meaning of Carl. And I think that it goes to, I guess, your philosophy on what life is. And I think from a personal standpoint, the ending to me in most things is not as tragic as the legacy. And maybe I'm in the minority of that. I'll let that kind of sink in a little bit, but to me, it's the fear of not having something. It's the reminder of how good conversations were. It's that constant reassurance. It's not the termination of that. And hopefully you guys kind of follow along with this. And I think when I see stuff like this, I was kind of okay with the Carl exit, but the more they do stuff like this and plant just these memories and these mementos, that's the part that continues to kind of wear on me a little bit more. You know, it's that, you know, Carl is a son. And we lost Carl as a character, but now we're starting to see Rick's frustration, Rick's missing his son. I mean, this is 18 months later, and he's still, they got the time skip to maybe get us over it a little bit, but not Rick. And then we're going to compound that with the fact that Rick is gone in one way or another. And I think one of the things that the writers learned from this, and I think one thing that they're going to use, is they're not going to wait till after Rick is gone to do this like they did with Carl. They're going to make us feel it all season long. It's going to be these conversations. It's going to be these relationships that sometimes Rick's internalizing, but it's with Daryl and knowing that they're always going to have each other's back, even if they get a little mad with people. And it's going to be showing Rick in that light that we didn't really see him at the end of last season. So I want to take up a couple quotes here, and just from Angela Kang. And some of this you guys are going to say, look, okay, it's stating the obvious. She's the showrunner. She's got to come out and say this. But when I read this, and I read this in another interview, it doesn't scream out death to me, but it does say to me that they are going to make us feel this loss of Rick like nothing that we have ever experienced. That it when they say emotional impact, emotion is not always bad, right? And, I do have to check this right now. Javier Moreno says, "You're my morning coffee. Thanks for everything." I'm going to get back to the chat, but let me say this. I have the most awesome group of subscribers anywhere on YouTube. You guys are absolutely amazing. I know I can't respond to every single comment, and I'll talk about this more at the end. Javier, thank you. But I've just got in the comments of some of the last couple of videos a ton of compliments on the 999 Army and my ability to podcast and to talk to you guys and the relationships that I try to build with each and every one of you, that people feel hopefully I'm not talking at them, that I'm talking to them. And when I hear that, that is exactly my intent, that I think all of us just have great interaction. So I didn't want to kind of overlook that, and his comment reminded me of that. So thank you. The great comments, I never get tired of reading them. I can't always respond to them, but I can, behind a microphone, say thank you. So I want to say thanks to everybody. All right, I'm going to move into a little bit of the interview with IGN that was a part of the video as well. They showed the video. And she said, "This is new territory for us. Obviously, there have been characters we've said goodbye to over the years, but he's the person who brought us into the show. We have such a strong ensemble." We've heard that before, right? This is not the first time she said those words. There's such beautiful scenes between a lot of these core characters that we've been tracking for many years. Rick has had such an interesting and deep relationship with these characters, and you really feel the way he's touched these different people's lives. The music, hearing Negan talk, I think the first thing, I'm going to jump around to a couple topics tonight, but it is going to cover all of the new teaser. So the piano music, kind of mysterious, and Negan says, what he says is exactly right. We can't think that Negan is up to something just because he says something. So Rick is going in to talk to Negan, and it's a therapy session. Rick's trying to get clarity. He's trying to understand a little bit about Negan, and he's also, I think, semi-frustrated with the fact that his plan is not coming together. It's not coming to fruition. He wants to lead, but people are rejecting that. I mean, he has the book, right? A Key to a Future. And you see him in the teaser. He looks at it, he slams it down and walks away. And, almost as if saying, like, I'm trying to build this future, but these people, they don't want a damn future. They want to fight. They want to disagree. They don't want to build something. So even though it is such a short clip, you can make a lot of that out there. You can see the way he carries around this memory of Carl and the importance of Judith. And you see Rick and Michonne walking back into a semi-rebuilt Alexandria with Judy there. Not sad. They're trying to show her a little bit of the world, and they're trying to make the world better. So if he runs into this resistance, and you see it with Carol, one thing I am continuing to see Eugene and Rosita scenes. See Eugene pouring water, and Rosita's right there with him. So they're getting a lot of FaceTime together. I'm still predicting that that's going to play out like it does in the comic. I think there's going to be a relationship there. Eugene is changing his look a little bit. But Rick's relationship and Rick's purity and Rick's hope is really what we followed with Rick all along. It's what we admired in Rick. We admired that he wasn't the person that was going to kill innocent saviors, that he was going to take a stand, that he was going to do something. But you hear Negan in the background, and the central theme in this 30-second clip is Negan's voice. And he says, "It's not the future. It's a monument to the dead. You aren't saving the world. You're just getting it ready for me." Now, the first time we hear this, and even the people that wrote the article, this is what they had to say about this. Of course, Negan, this is IGN, right? Of course, Negan is still Negan. He can't help but say things that are snarky, kind of rough. Actually, this is Angela Kang, sorry. snarky, kind of rough. We're going to see some really different emotional shades to him. So I'm going to give you the last part of that quote. But before she even wrote that, I didn't see that as wrong. Let me let that sink in for a minute. I'm going to give you a baseball analogy. And in baseball or softball, if you're not a big baseball fan, you have a cleanup hitter. How many people know what a cleanup hitter is? If you do, go ahead and type it in. If not, I'll just give you a quick sports analogy. Because when I heard that, it's just something immediately popped in my head. Viola says, I love Negan for that. All right, so really quickly, a cleanup hitter. You have first, second, third. Cleanup hitter is a person that bats fourth. And in theory, you can get bases loaded. And he's the one that kind of takes care of everything. Knocks everybody home, right? When Negan is saying this, I thought of a cleanup hitter. You aren't saving the world. You're getting ready for me. Because I am going to be able to do some things that you don't have the guts to do, that you are so worried about being the good guy. I'm the person that has to be the bad guy, and I understand that, and I accept that role. That's the emotional change in Negan, not that he's doing it necessarily for self-fulfillment, although there always is the element that Negan could have that ego to play in. I'm doing it because now people are going to need me. And he's correcting Rick. You're trying to build all this. It's not the future. All you continue to do is you praise the dead. And there's a time for that, right? They're burying people. They're doing ceremonies. They're honoring the dead. And in a normal society, it's probably perfectly fine. Morgan was doing it, right? In Fear the Walking Dead. And Jim the beer boy says, what are you doing that for? So you still have a little bit of humanity left. And I think Negan understands that he has to be barbaric, but barbaric to a degree and in control. And that's what I got out of that. I didn't get that Negan's aching to take over. So before I read the second half of her analysis, let me tell you what Angela Kang actually had to say in the second part of that in the article. Her follow-up to the first parts that I just read is said, he's essentially been in solitary confinement for a year and a half, and one of the stories that we're exploring is what that's done to him. So that really shifts the nature of his interactions. The other thing we'll be doing this season that I'm excited about, there's so much more during the war that was Rick versus Negan, and now we're going to see some other people have some really significant interactions with him that I hope are a little bit different and surprising. So we did see Father G and Negan. We will see, this is a little bit of a analysis, but this is IGM saying it's a safe bet that one of those significant interactions would be with Maggie, who was denied her chance at justice. So we went back and forth. We've wavered on this a little bit. That it could be Daryl, it could be Maggie. Somebody is going to be the forgiver of Negan. Someone is going to give him that last little bit. There's several things that will transition Negan. One, he's been locked up. He knows that he has to change in order to get freedom at some point. He's going to have to at least play the game. But I think with him, it's more than just a game. Number two, these therapy sessions with Rick are meaningful. He's starting to see Rick's vision of the world, even though he may not be strategically aligned with Rick's vision of the world. That's going to help him. Number three, complete acceptance and forgiveness to a degree. Well, complete acceptance, forgiveness to a degree. How about that? Because I don't think I don't think there's going to be complete forgiveness. There's always going to be a little bit of something. So when those things really start to take shape and these little hints and these little clues pop up, it's going to be easier for us to digest what happens with Negan in the future and how Negan can support in the future and take care of the people in the future. Negan is going to be a little bit of what the group has to have. Legend 83 says, Kills, do you think that we're going to get any scenes from the time between 0 and 18 months? I do. I don't think it's going to be as powerful as what we may see between 18 months and 5 years. I think there's going to be a lot more. I mean, obviously, with time, there's going to be a lot more. But there's going to be a lot more story that has happened in that second time skip. So, the emotional impact. There's several things as Rick makes his exit that the writers have to touch on. Whether they kill him or whether they excuse him. Once again, in this interview, let me give you the careful wording that is used by Angela Kang. Hold on, I'm scrolling through because I want to find the exact words. But once again, it says, I think it says we're losing Rick. It doesn't say Rick is dying. So, again, I think pretty clever play on words. And then the next part of that I want to talk about is Rick's impact. And I want to call on a few people here to kind of get your thoughts in this video. And so here's kind of the way this is going to work. And those of you that are new to our channel, there's a lot of audience participation. So what I'd like for you to do is I'm going to give you a character that Rick has had some interactions with. And as we watch this season, I want you to think of what Rick's impact. As Angela Kang just said, he's had interactions and it's going to be emotional. Daryl. The emotional impact of Rick being gone, one way or another, either permanently gone or possibly temporarily gone, hopefully more so the second than the first. But Rick's impact on Daryl. Things that he's probably taught Daryl. Michael says Daryl will be messed up over Rick being gone however Rick leaves. Kirby, how so? Kirby says Daryl's going to change after losing Rick, but I want to think about the story they've had and what would that do to Daryl. Now, I know some of it depends on how Rick leaves, right? Do you guys remember? Of course you do. Do you remember when Daryl actually looked at the picture that Dwight put in a sale of Glenn? That was one of the toughest things that I'm not saying I forgave Dwight overnight, and I'm not a Dwight hater, but that level of this is what happens if you don't play ball, that was pretty extreme. He did. He was crushed. He got sick. So think about the relationship between Daryl and Rick. Big part of the story this year. Maggie and Rick. We're going to see them at odds. We're going to see them disagree. But once again, Rick's exit could directly impact Maggie's exit. And we could probably go through Rosita, for example. Remember the truck Daryl was going to drive? Daryl did drive through the sanctuary. And Rosita said, I believe in Rick Grimes. And Rosita, she bolted. She thought it was a good idea at first. And she wanted to let Rick's plan play out. Rosita, who is shoot first, ask questions later, showed that even some of the toughest battle-tested warriors out there can pause for a second because of Rick. So one of the things that I think is really going to be analyzed is how Rick has impacted so many people much, much differently. So I read a comment, or I didn't read the whole comment, but I kind of gave a summary in last night's episode where it is a TV show. But there are these qualities of Rick that are very admirable at times. Might not always be the best leader. He's made mistakes like everybody else. But there's things that we can see in Rick that at their best moments are pure. And I don't think last season was his best moments. So one of the things that I think we should be prepared for is a redemptive quality in Rick. Making it right, tying up loose ends before he gets he may not get a chance to ever tie him up again. And if Eugene can become more like Abraham, Aaron can become a little more like Rick. Daryl can become a little bit more like Rick. Negan can become a little bit more like Rick. They can't become Rick, but they can take qualities. And I feel like that's going to be more emotional than many of you realize. You know how I kind of led into tonight's stream and said it's not always the ending, it's not always the moment of termination that something ends. That a lot of times it's the memory. It's reminiscing, right? When they reminisce over you. With Rick, it's not going to be the reminiscing. It's going to be knowing he's leaving and trying to squeeze every bit of juice out of that orange emotionally in episode 1, 2, 3, 4. Knowing that we're going to get to 5 and he's gone. And the writers are absolutely going to give us their best Rick Grimes. And after every single show, we're going to be like, oh, God, 4 more left, 3 more left. No, it's not going to happen this way. That's the emotion that we're going to be stuck with. So let me get to Super Chat, and I'm going to kind of add a little bit more to that. So this is Wayne Green. Wayne Green with Super Chat says, 909, what's up, bro? What's up to you, Wayne? Maybe the show will end with Morgan and Daryl if Rick is killed. Just don't see the show drifting too far away from what the characters have made it, besides the ones you already lost. Your thoughts? Wayne, I think you're onto something there. I think Morgan. I think Daryl. But I think Rick. I think Rick will be a part of the ending of the show. I don't know it's all going to be Daryl's memory of Rick that's going to drive him. I still, until I hear it, until I see it, until it is written, I still think there's as much argument that there's a wacky survival and an open-ended ending than a devoured death. And we are going to talk about the ending because people have asked how I would like to see the show end and what I think they could do. And I'm going to ask you for your same opinion. I don't want to just kind of give you guys my opinion. I'll see a comment or a super chat, and I'll definitely throw in my 2 cents. I've got bullet points, so I want to go through those bullet points. But one of the things that really give our streams life is the fact that we don't always have to stay on script. We can come in and sit down and start discussing something, and if there's something more interesting that we take the conversation a different direction, then we'll talk about it. But Wayne, I appreciate that thought. But I do think Morgan may not be quite as important as Rick, but I would say Morgan is very, very close because of what he was there, the attachment to Rick, the separation, the fact that he's trying to make his way back. Morgan's out there trying to survive right now. And part of Morgan's survival, part of Morgan's drive in order to get there is to be able to look Rick in the eye. I mean, he said it. Even though Morgan's got new responsibilities, he's trying to help. Now, typically, I don't want to say moral compass, and I think they're trying to break a little bit of that moral compass taboo that, when you get that, you die type of thing. I don't think that this group in fear that's putting the supplies on the side of the road, I don't think that signifies death. I think they're intentionally showing people can do good and they don't necessarily die because of it. Remember, there's just a lot of repetition in the show in the past, and it was pretty easy to predict. Okay, now this is happening, they're gone. And even the handprints, you could probably look at the handprints and say, all right, he's closing all the gaps here, tying all the loose ends. It is. Jason says, Kills is making me sad. I feel like I'm hearing Rick's eulogy. We're less than a month out. So I want there to be more preparedness, but at the same time, we can't totally prepare for what we're about to see. And I just feel that the writers, knowing that Andrew, how he wants his character to go out, it is a loss. It's a loss for all of us. But a loss does not equivocate death. So I do think some things are going to be intentionally broken up. So let me play on another quote here. The exact quote. And give me 1 second, because I don't want to misquote it. So just give me a second to pull this up. And okay. This is Angela Kang's exact words. So, well, this is IGN's words, and then I'll translate into Angela Kang. So, to soothe our pain, we spoke to Angela Kang, and what can we expect besides heartbreak? So Lincoln's farewell run will have, and this is her quote, an incredible emotional impact and showcase some amazing work from the entire cast. So, as we alluded to a little bit early, emotion, especially in a TV show, always gets, or not always, but a good majority of the time, carries a negative connotation. It's going to be very emotional, right? I posted this tonight, and I said, prepare. It's going to be very emotional. And it did kind of lean in that direction where even Jason said a minute ago, feels like Rick's death, feels like a eulogy. But emotion is not always bad. It could be very emotional. Hope is an emotion, right? So if we're set up for this big ending and this big death, and we don't get that, we're going to go to the doldrums. We're going to be down in the bottom of the barrel here, and then we're going to be uplifted by a little bit of that hope. That's my thought. That's my hope, is that it plays out that way, and it gives me a building block in a very, very dark time, because there's going to be a dark time coming up right after the time skip. So June Smith says, what's your favorite Rick quote? Mine is, what have you done? We've all done something. I'll miss him, his presence on The Walking Dead. I would probably say my favorite Rick scene and my favorite Rick quote would be when he was out in the streets in Alexandria and he was down on his knees and he was talking about doing something, and Deanna said, yeah, we definitely need to do something. And he said, me? You talking about me? Me? I love that. I thought I thought it reminded me of Jim Mora talking when he said playoffs. You guys, if you're football fans, you know what I'm talking about. And if you've seen the beer commercial, you know what I'm talking about. But it was like it was a very dramatic, very intense moment right before, Michonne slugged him and knocked him out to save him. That was probably my favorite Rick scene ever. Memorable for a lot of different reasons. So, good stuff there. And who would have thought that might have been the beginning of their love relationship in a weird sort of way. I got another super chat here, so I want to call on Richard Barnes. So Rich says, I think Rick will survive, but how could Rick being gone for 5 to 6 years away from his loved ones be explained? Is it confirmed the second time skip is 5 to 6 years? That is not confirmed. I have heard 3 years all the way up to 6 years. So, regardless, Richard, I still get your point that even 3 years away from his loved ones it's going to take a very unique situation. And we probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago, that's the part that we kept getting hung up on in this theory, whether Rick's helping someone, whether Rick's taken, whether Rick's in a helicopter, is how can he stay away from Michonne? How can he stay away from Judith? If Rick can walk, Rick is getting back to his family. Rick doesn't necessarily need to walk to provide hope. Rick doesn't necessarily need to walk to provide leadership. And we said Rick is not always the best leader, but one thing I'll tell you, he probably inspires as much hope, if not more hope, than anybody else. And it's a tough situation for the writers, because you run the risk of people saying that's just corny. Now, I have been very outspoken on Fear the Walking Dead that I like myself a little bit of corny. I like myself a little bit of funny. I don't like Fear the Walking Dead being The Walking Dead. I've caught some heat, probably most notably from Toledo in this chat, where he says, okay, Kills, where's the line between coincidence and bad writing? I think they do it very well, but that's not everybody's flavor. But I'm totally okay with funny and different and a different show, and that kind of makes me look at it as a different show, with the exception of a couple people, with Morgan. because Morgan has that attachment. But with The Walking Dead, it's not funny. It's intense. And when we lose characters, it's a big, big deal. It's characters that we've grown with, that we've been with for 10 years. So you can't take the death of Rick lightly, and you can't take the exit of Rick lightly, because if you don't do it the right way, and Angela Kang, this is why I think they don't kill Rick. This is another, I've given you guys 20 reasons probably why they don't kill Rick, and I'm going to give you number 21 right now. Because there's no way you can kill Rick, in my mind, and it'd be epic. So when she says stuff like, we don't want to screw it up, okay, well, if you're going to kill him, I don't think you're going to screw it up one way any more than the other way. If he's dead, he's still going to be dead, and we're still not going to like it. I don't think there's very many Rick Grimes' death that we're going to be high-fiving each other saying, hey, that was good. That was a good story. Yeah, I can get around that. Wrap my head around that theory. That's excellent. Glad you killed Rick. No. You're going to be the lady that killed Rick Grimes. I don't care how nice you are. You're still going to be that lady in my mind. But when you use words like, Andy's leaving the show, and we wanted to make sure we gave him the right exit, and we wanted to be careful not to screw it up. Those are her words. So when she says something like, I don't want to screw this up, I know it is a play on words, right? And I'm probably looking for a little more hope. But I think there's more of a risk of screwing it up if you make it corny, rather than screw it up and kill him, because you're already screwing it up. So if he rides through a herd of walkers and he's attached on a saddle, and he's got two guns, and he's shooting, and he looks like some character from the Wild West, and then he jumps on the helicopter with one hand, and he's waving, and he pulls a beer out of his back pocket, and it looks like an Old Spice commercial, then we're not going to buy that. We're going to be like, yeah, this kind of got dumb in a hurry. That's not believable. So the part that we're really trying to get over some of that hurdle is, how can it be risky and close to death and get him out of there for a little while and incapacitate him to a degree where he can't make it back? Maybe he doesn't know where he is, or maybe taken out on a boat somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I'm on a boat, y'all. I don't know. I mean, is there a Navy destroyer out there in the middle of the ocean? That's been done before in zombie movies. But you get where I'm going with this. Is he going to be captive? Or are the people picking him up, do they have a different interest in Rick that is not going to allow him to make it back? Don't assume that everybody's just out for his well-being. There very much could be, hey, this person's almost dead. We got some plans for you. Jade wanted some subjects. If she's the one calling this in and he's hanging on by a thread, maybe there is some communication and he just can't make it. I mean, that part is not ironed out yet. So if you're looking for that answer, I can't give you that answer. We can talk about it. We can speculate it. We can say what we want an ending to be and what would be acceptable for us. But you know what? Even after we see it, it's not going to be acceptable for everybody. If I had the ending right now, and I read it to everybody in the stream, 20-30% of the people are not going to like it. They're going to disagree with it, one way or another. So you know those odds going in. You know the challenge. So does Angela Kang pick her wording correctly when she says, we want to be careful not to screw this up for someone as iconic as Rick? Absolutely, she used her words correctly, because that is pressure. That is unbelievable pressure. Now, we got a few more minutes with the stream. We haven't hit our hour, even though time is flying by in a hurry. So we talked a little bit in last night's episode, or in our broadcast, and in the one before that, about some spoilers that were out there, some time frames that were out there. We added a couple layers to it. And then one of the things that came up is, the question for me was, how would I like to see The Walking Dead end? And I do talk about bits and pieces, and I'll elaborate a little bit tonight. But I also want to know if you want to put your thoughts on there. If you want to commit to it, then definitely feel free to type it. I may not be able to read everybody. Well, I won't be able to read everybody's. But I may call on a couple people, and we can get if you type it, it's going to be in the stream. If I read it, then it's kind of like a double. Other people will hear it without reading through all the chat. So as I thought about this, what would be, if I were writing, if I were producing, if I was a showrunner, what would work for me, and what do I think would work for most of the audience? And I'm okay with Rick getting surrounded by a herd one way or another, helping someone. We can debate who that someone would be, whether it's a Daryl, whether it's a Maggie, whether Rick is willing to risk his life for other people. And I'm okay with that script, if the script plays out somewhat like that, of Michonne seeing that happen and wanting to go in and saving him, and Maggie just saying, no, you're basically going to die too if you do this. And, I got baby Herschel, and you got Judy, and we got people we got to think about, and we're sorry we're going to lose Rick. I can get behind that. If he dies in that scene, I can't get behind it. I just don't think it's good. And I wouldn't write it that way. But if there's a miracle, and if Rick fights through it, and Rick finds a way to get on the other side of that, or maybe the vantage point is not what it appears to be. The walkers are coming in more from one side than the other side, and it looks more dire than it is, and Rick gets through it. Or if Rick is bitten, and we're thinking that that's it, that's the end. And he gets to the other side, and Jada sees it. She observes a little bit of it, and she radios it in. And shortly, we get that helicopter coming down, and we see Rick taken away. If I don't see or hear from Rick again, I'm okay. I mentioned this in the stream the other night, and some people they lost it. They were like, what? We need closure. If I don't know who those people are, and if I don't know if Rick lives, and if I don't know where he went, and it falls into, in my mind, into 100 million other mysteries that go on in this world, if I think he might come back at some point, or I think they might tell the story, or I find out 3 seasons later that it was a part of another group or something along those lines, I'm okay with that. Not everybody's going to be okay with that, because I do think we watch TV shows, and a lot of people feels like a sense of closure. Toledo, I don't know. I don't know that has been done enough. Where's the difference? What's the difference between a cop-out and redundancy or bad? So if you have 3 choices, and your 3 choices are going to be cop-out, been done before, bad writing. There is nothing. Let me say this. If you're waiting around for something to happen in his exit that has never been done before, you're sadly, sadly mistaken. It has been done before. It will be done again. There will always be. There's not an original ending at this point in life that you can write into a movie of somebody leaving. At best, you can probably pick the path less traveled and get something that is not as tired and done as many times. But I'm just giving you one example because the question was asked of how I would like to see it end. And for me, that would be okay. Because it can be whatever you want it to be. All right, so just humor me for a second. Just for a little bit, and then I'm going to get in some other theories. And Dawn of the Frank making the introduction with the super chat. Thank you so much, Dawn of the Frank. Was that because you liked the idea? So let's just say, hold on, before we get to a walkie-talkie later or before we get to whatever. If Rick was bitten and Rick gets into a helicopter, give me, in your mind, after I just gave you that scenario, without knowing what happens next, tell me what happens. Everybody that wants to be involved in that chime in. So let me say it happened that way. Rick's surrounded. He's saving people. They can't get to him. He gets to the other side. He's gnawed up. He's bitten several areas. He's bitten the leg. He's bitten the arm. You got minutes to react. Jada sees it. She phones in her people, whatever her people may be. They airport him out. And that's it. That's it. Now I need you to tell me, in your perfect story, what happens. Didn't ask you if it was boring, Tommy. I asked you what happened. Toledo says the infection slowly kills him unless it's chopped off. Geese74 says he's dead. Anna Demo, Rick is flown out, returns the only person the very last episode. Matt says he's missing a leg. Paul says maybe there's a clinic. Lakeisha says maybe it's a whisper that actually bit him. Or injured him. Madison says a cure. Multiple bites, faster turning. They're under the gun. Dawn of the Frank says government experience on Rick. Chris says Rick gets brainwashed. Viola, hopefully you guys see what we're going for here. So, is there harm in not force-feeding us a Rick ending? That's my question. If you don't know how to end something, do you need to end it in a way where it's unpopular with half of your audience? Right? Because you can already see it. Bite equals boring. So, if you're left to your own imagination, if you're left to your own meaning of Rick, if you're left with the concept of Rick, it is what you want it to be. Can you imagine the first stream that we do if that were to happen that way? I'm not saying it happens exactly that way, but if there is an open-ended nature, I just wanted to give you that example so we could all kind of drill in and get on the same topic. We could definitely take somebody else's scenario of an open-ended topic and we could debate that and analyze that. But you get to create your own situation. But you know what, Anna? You say just don't kill him, but maybe not necessarily. Because for some people, he could be dead. There could be people saying, you know what? The whisper's going to get to him. Somebody's going to be wearing Rick Grimes' face in the near future. If that's the way you think, then you're fine with that. You're still allowed to think that. And it kicks the spoiler sites right in the ass because now you don't know. So you have the hope he could come back. You have the people are going to say, he got bit. There's no way. He ain't going to make it out of there. They just wasted their time trying to do that. There's so many different possibilities that could pay tribute to Rick. Okay, now don't just focus in on the bite. I needed to give you a scenario to get everybody thinking. Rick's riding through a group of zombies and he falls off the horse and stubs his big toe and it gets infected and he may not live. If that's better for people, then go with that. Whatever you want. I'm being extremely sarcastic right now. I'm just saying open-ended can go in a lot of different ways. And truly open-ended would be where we're left to our own devices. We're left to our own theories, our own what we've internalized as Rick Grimes. That will start to come out. I have hope. Rick's still alive. I need closure. Rick died in that. There's no way he made it. The debate on that would be intense. And you can see a lot of this ending is directed toward open-ended. So I'm going to ask, give me your ending. You don't have to give me a book, but give me a couple of your thoughts of how it could play out. Now, I am not naive. I understand as a host, we get our ideas out there, and some of my ideas become other people's ideas. And that's cool. Some of your ideas become my ideas. But if you got something a little bit different, throw it, put it up there. Let's talk about it a little bit. Bambi Rebel, you read the Spoiling Dead's fan page very well. But also, hopefully you have read that they're not sure about that. Because we did hear the spoiler, he died in a cemetery surrounded by walkers. And we saw shots of the cemetery. But we also saw that exact same site said, hold on, we're getting new information that he may make it out. So, it's possible. So, and that brings up a good point. What I'm looking for is your ending. I'm not looking for a regurgitation of a spoiler site's verbatim prediction and what it's going to happen. I'm looking for what you think would be a good ending, what you would write it in, what you would change in the dynamic. That's what I want to see. You got to have a little bit of courage to go out there and sort of throw a theory out there, right or wrong. Now, I like that better. Bambi said Rick gets taken by the Whispers and then revealed to be alive and gets killed in the final episode of the season. That would be intense, and that would definitely qualify as epic. I'll give you that. It may be a little hard to deal with for a lot of people, and it may be a little sad, like, hey, you kept him alive just to torture me later. Jason says Rick gets on his white horse, swarm of walkers, makes it out, gets on the chopper, and is thinking about his loved ones. That would actually, you know what? And that is very solid because, that would be a great time, right? If he's blacking out on his chopper and the last things he sees. So that would definitely lead you to believe that maybe he's drifting away and he didn't make it. But they tried. So what if Jadis tries to help him and he dies while they're trying to help him? I mean, there's all these different scenarios and variations of it. Dawn of the Frank says Chopper is when he has his flashback. Hey, I love it. I hope that starts to take a little bit of shape. Walking Dead Nerd says taking on Chopper, what happens to Jadis? She's going to tell them where he went to. Good question. Maybe, maybe not. Second coma? I mean, not everybody's going to like it. Legend, I think in some way Rick will return, saves his family. So I'm going to give you kind of the two-part, and we can discuss how Rick gets through the group horde of walkers and whether or not he's bitten or survives or any of those things. But in my perfect Walking Dead, I don't know how Rick stays away for that long. I haven't ironed that part of it out. But at some point, Rick comes back. Morgan goes looking for him. Morgan makes it back, and Morgan's quest is to find Rick Grimes. So I want to see these two storylines really interact again. And I want to see The Walking Dead end with Rick and Morgan winning somehow. I'll figure that out a little bit later on. If I were writing the show, I probably wouldn't have that answer now. I'd have to get through a couple more seasons to get there. But Jadis carrying that secret around and doesn't want to really let everybody know about this other group for whatever reason, past transgressions, what they're into, maybe they're into some crazy stuff. And she feels like they could help Rick. Toledo says, I feel like Rick will find out the people in the chopper are connected to Georgie and the two girls' new community, maybe the Commonwealth, if you want it to be open-ended. Well, Georgie has been watching them for a long time. So let me kind of, while you guys are typing some of your theories, let's focus on that one for a minute. How do you guys feel about that? Rick making it to the chopper flying out, and we find out that there's a connection to another group. And we'll meet him later on. Are you guys okay with that as a Rick exit? No, not dramatic enough? Too obvious that there's another group? I mean, it's obvious to the comic fans, but it's not obvious to the television show fans. And in fact, Angela Kang did talk about there's another group they'll run into, and she goes, I don't want to spoil it for the people that are still, that it's a comic spoiler. So, Toledo, I mean, because this was your idea, and a few others, why does Rick stay away for a couple years? What keeps him away from the group? Just can't make it? Needs to be away? Can't do it? Can't face himself anymore? is okay with everybody thinking he's dead. That's kind of the tough part. Yeah, and that's probably the only part of it that this group would have to have an ulterior motive. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I'm okay with him flying away, and I think that's why I keep going back to maybe I don't need to know all the details at this point, because if I don't know if he's alive or dead, then that if he is, that's a different story they're going to have to definitely tell. So I'm going to really call on the comic fans here, so I need your help with this. Because I don't know. Commonwealth's relationship to Rick. Good, bad, aggressive, partners, skeptical, enemies. Define the partnership between the Commonwealth and Rick. Now, granted, they can change it. I mean, I don't expect it to be exactly the way the comics are, but I guess that's the part that I need to go back and research a little bit more. So if this is the group that is the Commonwealth or ultimately becomes the Commonwealth, we got to figure out a way to keep Rick with that group. Yes, hostage. Maybe he works his way out of it. Maybe, ultimately they do form that partnership. Yeah, that seems a little bit of a challenge in order to write that. But I don't know. I guess I'm okay with figuring that out as opposed to killing him outright. All right, a couple of things. Just want to recap from the episode tonight. Some really good stuff here. If you haven't gotten a chance to go back and watch the brand new teasers out there, it's about 30 seconds. We kind of broke most of it down, but you'll hear the creepy piano playing in Negan's voice. So when you first hear Negan's voice, like I said, just kind of listen to it. It is a little cocky, it is a little confident, but at the same time, it seems like a different Negan, a Negan that understands he's going to be needed and is going to have to do things that other people can't do. Also, just a couple tidbits here or there. The big thing that kind of hit me, right in the gut is Rick actually putting his hand up over Carl's hand. So you see it circled there, but he actually paused, and you'll have to watch it really slow in order to catch a few of those things. And then just the redemptive qualities of Rick, and I think not only are we going to miss Rick after he's gone, I do think there's just going to be a big build-up, and there is going to be a hype machine. I mean, look, it's a business, and they know that if Rick is leaving, that those first 5 episodes are going to be, they're going to be monumental. People I haven't watched in a long time are going to watch, and I'm going to give you just a bold prediction. I think the first 5 episodes will be the highest rated of The Walking Dead ever. I think they're going to bring some fans back that aren't going to wait and see it. They're not going to want to wait for the spoiler. They're going to want to see it. And I think they'll definitely have the audience for at least 5 episodes. After episode 5, we're going to have a chat like this, and we're going to be talking about possibilities, hopefully, and not talking about, wow, that was a rough death. That really hurt. So I do think that if there is that hope, here's the last thing that I want to say with this. And actually, before we do that, you guys all just do me a huge favor. If you're part of the 999 Army, slap that like button. Let's get this thing up. Just like it up. Get this thing rolling. Once this video goes live, make sure you leave comments. Leave what you liked, what you didn't like. And if you're brand new, it's the first time that you guys have been here, then just slap that 999 button in the bottom right corner and subscribe to us. So as they hype this up, the question that I have for each of you and this will turn into a long conversation probably, but I'll try to make it as short as possible. If you bring back people that have not watched The Walking Dead in 5, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, and they're only going to watch 5 episodes to see what happens, how are you going to keep them? You just going to get them back, and then they're going to watch Rick die, and then they're going to go away? Give me your suggestions right now. Let's say I'm a Walking Dead fan, and you lost me 3 seasons ago, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot this season. I just want to see what's going on with Rick. Okay, I watched season 5. He's dead. I got my answer. You lose all those people again. In suspense? Give him hope he'll come back? I mean, that's kind of what I'm hoping for too. Tune in to see the death of Rick Grimes? No, I think you're going to have to string them along a little bit. You know, you got 5 episodes to get them hooked on other people, I guess. But I do think that there's going to need to be just that concept. And with that, we have had a pretty full stream. So I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Hopefully you are in a place that is safe. If you're not, get to a place that's safe. We may or may not do a stream tomorrow, so I'm on the fence. If we do, we won't do a stream again until Sunday. So hold tight. If this is posted at about 8:30 at the latest, then you'll know that we're going to get together and talk. I'm leaning more likely that we will, but you guys know how the weather is, and we'll make that call a little bit later on tomorrow as well. So once again, I appreciate your interaction and for listening to what my perfect ending is for The Walking Dead. And I know that's not what everybody wants to happen, but we all have our different theories and our own vantage points. And I also want to thank you. I didn't get a chance to call on everybody, but for typing your theories in the way that you think it'll end, that'll be forever ingrained in this video. So we can always go back and use it as a reference point. It's good sometimes to do repeat streams and say, hey, let me go back and see what everybody's thoughts on that were, and if we were right, wrong, or if we were just way, way off base. And we have been from time to time, but sometimes you got to have a little courage and just throw your theories out there. So if you're watching the playback, we are in 1 hour and 7 minutes. This is the closing credits. We are going to wind it down. I want to thank each and every one of you. So the playback, you guys can take off. If you're still here, give me a quick 999 so I can do a lot of shout-outs and just say thanks to 999 Army. Once again, I'm just going to start with the upper left-hand corner. I want to give a super shout-out to all my Patreons. We're up to like 60-something channel supporters, so it is growing really, really fast. Thank you for everything that you guys do. Thank you for your Patreon contribution. If you're interested in supporting the channel through Patreon, there is a link down below. You get a couple other tidbits, where I might hang out on the weekend, just some other things that go on that we don't always talk about on the YouTube site. And I got some really hardcore supporters do a lot for this channel, so thank you. In the top right corner, we've got the sponsors. So you see their name highlighted in green and custom emojis. Want to say special shout out to all of them. And also my moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kells. Once again, you guys can see over. I got to get my ads in at the end of it, just so you guys know, because we get questions on this, and so I'm going to be thorough. If you're going to be at an event, Walker, Stalker, Comic-Con, something, you want to rock some 999 gear, there's a link down to that below. And, of course, our Walking Dead 999 Army, which is growing well, too. We're well over 600 different people, a lot of interaction on that. So memes, theories, a lot of things that kind of go back and forth with those. But we also use that site to post when we're doing a video and a link to the video as well. So there we go. A whole lot of cool stuff. Let me do a whole bunch of shout-outs now as we take this video home. Walking Dead Nerd, thank you for being here. Rhonda DeLuca, Gina Crockett, Paul Eagle 1000, Mike Reiser, Shane Hassan, Matt Burkett, Chris Sousa, Ed and Holly Fire Squirrel Smith. I just read that. Legend 83, Bumblebee Brown, Madison Dickey, Peggy Sullivan, Shane Yahtzee, Geese 74, have a good night. Crystal Gibson, Toledo, always love the battles with Toledo. Like every night we go at it. You guys should tune in just to kind of see that. Michael Curie, Corey Whittington, thank you so much. You know what? I'm going to read it. Darnell is a hottie. You guys and your names crack me up. Diane Estes. Mary, thank you for being here. Night Slayer 36, Colleen Hayes, appreciate it. Thank you, Michael Curie. You have a good night, too. Viola McGowan, thank you. Newfield 12. Sergeant Chosen One. What's up, Sarge? Appreciate you being here. Deborah Johnson, have a good night. June Smith. And also, just really quick, because I want to go over the Super Chatters as well. Give them a special shout out. So, Villar Super Chatting, Chip Smith, Wayne Green, June Smith, Richard Barnes, and also Dawn of the Frank. Appreciate not only your Super Chat, but your conversation and your comments as well. So, absolutely. Everybody, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, just all of you guys are in our thoughts and prayers, and let's just hope that those wind speeds get down as much as they possibly can, but it's not looking good. Stefanella, have a good night. Thank you. Have a good night, Death Proof. D. Martinelli, have a good night. Thank you for being here. Sherry Wenzel as well. Cammie, thank you. Have a good night. Julie McGuire. Crystal Gibson. Crystal, I don't want to know you guys are hunkered down. I would rather you get in a car and drive and get out instead of writing something out. Always scares me when I hear that. Northside Queen, thank you. Have a good night as well. Legend 83. You know what, June? I am. A more animated stream, I think. But yeah, I am. I am a little tired tonight. I need some. I need some music to kind of get my interest. Melinda Kettler, have a good night. Bob D. Maggie B. Thank you, Maggie. Thanks, E Beach. Well, hopefully if we do a broadcast, everybody's listening is in a safe space. And we'll try to brighten up their night. Sam B., what's up, Sam? Samantha Coombs, thank you. Crystal, the singer chick Gore. You all be safe. Thank you, Kills, for the therapy. Love 999, Patreons, mods, Super Chatters family, best channel on the net. Thank you. You know what? It's a pleasure to be a part of the best channel on the net. And it's only the best channel on the net because of all of you. Sheldon Arthur, thank you for being here. James Kelly as well. And you know what, Julie? Morris is awesome. See, these are the outtakes. So apparently there was a case of mistaken identity earlier today. And I don't know how this happens. And I'm not saying this to embarrass anyone, but it was somewhat comical that someone posted on the 999 Army page, and we took the post down, and they said they were worried about my well-being, and they said, "Kills, don't ride the storm out. Get out of there." And you should your daughter, get your family to safety. And well, I don't have a daughter. I have a cat, which is you guys hear Morris all the time. Like when dude wants to get on a video, he jumps up on my lap and he gets in a video. But apparently, I guess this was Ronnie. I don't know. I don't know Ronnie's family, but I guess Ronnie Hayes may have a daughter. So I got mistaken by one of my subscribers and one of my posters for Ronnie. And if Ronnie, you know what? Like I said, YouTube is a family. I don't watch a lot of videos. And by a lot, I mean never. But I know who these guys are, and just from name recognition, I don't know what their family is. But if he's broadcasting his family, then get in the car and get out of there, man. So this one's for you, Ronnie Hayes. If you're hunkered down, get in your car and leave. YouTube will be waiting for you when you get back, brother. And you can always pop in here and listen to me while you're driving. But no, we took the post down, if you guys are wondering, because it was just getting confusing because I started getting messaging. And a lot of you guys are on Kick and a lot of you guys are on Facebook Messenger. So I started getting messages like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize you had a daughter. What are you doing?" It's like, I didn't know how to take that. Like, if they meant what am I doing to protect my daughter that I don't have, or what was I doing to actually have a daughter? I was like, hey, let me decipher some of these messages. But no, I had to clarify I had a cat. All right, everybody, we can probably go on. These are your outtakes. So those of you that do hang out a little bit longer, thank you. Appreciate you being here. I wished I had a good song, but I'm a little tired tonight. So let's do this again tomorrow night. Thanks again. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.